Hello and welcome to a new video. Today we're gonna take a look at the Ultra League again. Today we're gonna take a look at my Shadow Staraptor for the Ultra League. I have a lot of Staraptors built, but the Shadow one is going to be the one that we're going to play for today, so let's move right into the gameplay. We're going to have a very standard line here. We're going to have the Swampert in the lead, we're going to have the Saysop of the Staraptor, and we're going to have the Pidgeot on the back. Main theory behind this is something that you see a lot of times in the Great League as well. Swampert only having the weakness of grass types is going to be fine for our backline, as our backline is going to be very good against grass type Pokemon, but also Swampert is very good against steel type Pokemon that you're going to encounter in the lead already with the Registeel. We're going to have here the Saysop of the Staraptor, which is going to have access to the move Close Combat, which is going to give us some nice coverage against some steel types, which is going to come in clutch as well in today's video for sure. But also we're going to have now the new move Fly, which is going to not debuff ourselves, which is going to be also amazing for scenarios like this one against the Buzzwole. We can just go for the Fly, not gonna drop our defense, so they cannot farm us down, and they can still go for the superpower. They overfarm two superpowers here as well, as we can swap out into our Pidgeot, and Pidgeot looks so crazy strong in the current Great League meta. It is wild. If you take a look on PvPoke and you're just gonna put it in there, the first thing that you see in the team builder tool is that it's going to win against every single Pokemon other than Registeel, which is absolutely madness in the current meta. So definitely a Pokemon that you kind of want to have. I kind of want to build my 100% variant as well soon, but I'm still going to use this one for now because there is no need. But here we're going to be able to just sweep the opponent with our Shadow Swampert. It is not the most creative team here, definitely not the most creative, but a very effective team. And so here we're going to see a Tentacruel in the lead. The opponent is, I guess, not there yet, but yeah, it's going to be fine. We can just go ahead and go for the Earthquake. They definitely got some free fast moves in afterwards though, so it's going to be okay here. We're going to take this advantage, use a shield against a Scald coming through. They're going to get the attack drop immediately, which I guess is fair. And they swap out into the Kingdra. I'm going to be able to still reach out for another charge move here, and I most likely should have not done this because we were debuffed, and also Fly most likely would do enough damage already to knock them out after like a little bit of fast move pressure, so I could have most likely just saved my energy there. But I decided to use a shield here and go for a little bit of a risky play because Octazooka has a 50% chance to debuff me as well, like Scald, but it would be a double debuff and they don't get this, which is really good for me because now I can just go for the neutral Fly against the opponent's Tentacruel, do a ton of damage, 50% there, easy peasy. They're gonna go for the charge move and I can just swap out now into either my Swampert or also my Pidgeot. I'm gonna go for the Pidgeot because I would be able to just debuff the opponent, but because they're going to have the Drapion in the back, I just decided to swap out. I should still be able to survive a crunch. They're gonna get the defense drop again, but we can still reach the Earthquake in time, and so this is going to be a good game as the opponent's Tentacruel has no chance against our team anymore. Let's take a look at the next opponent. We're going to see a Swampert in the lead, and we're going to swap out immediately into our Staraptor, and you're going to see something as well. I am not running Brave, like I'm not running Fly here, I'm running Brave, but this was the first battle that I played and I forgot to change the move. Happens quite often, does not really matter at all in this matchup anyway, because the opponent swaps out into the Registeel, and this is exactly the matchup that you kind of want to get out of here, because we can just go for the close combat and get a ton of damage onto them. Again, I would have not done anything different here, even if I had basically Fly on this Pokemon, so it was not really impactful at all. But yeah, every other game now after this one is also going to still have the move Fly. I just forgot for the first one, which happens to me quite often. I always forget to change the move, so yeah, we're going to be fine here. We're going to be able to still go for the Surf against the opponent. We can still reach, not the Surf, the Hydrocan here against the opponent. We can still reach another Hydrocan against the opponent's Swampert, and I can let this move go through. There's going to be another Hydrocan coming my way, but we're gonna see in the back it's going to be the Sneasel, and we can just go for the Feather Dance. It's going to be the Aerial Ace. I'm not sure how much Shadow Sneasel's Aerial Ace is going to do here, but just going to use a shield, and no matter what they're going to do, this game is over at this point, because the opponent is forced to go for close combat here, and they are going to be double debuffed, and they're also going to now be double debuffed in the defense, so I can just go for the full farm down, and this is going to be amazing, as we can just go for Hydro Cannon and win this game as well, as we can move on now into the next one. So let's see what the next opponent is going to run. Next opponent coming up, let's see what they're going to do here. They're going to have Swampert against the Pidgeot in the lead. This is not going to be ideal for us, but we can still just go for one Hydrocan immediately, because if you don't go immediately, they might be able to still reach their own debuffing Feather Dance, and so we're gonna get the shield here. and I decide to use a shield as well, just in case they're gonna go for the Brave Bird, and they decide to go for the Brave Bird, so they swap out now into the Poliwrath, and maybe I should have not went into my Staraptor here, and that's something that I learned the hard way. Basically, Icy Wind just does too much damage. Like, honestly, Icy Wind is something that you can still take with the Pidgeot, but Shadow Staraptor is just a little bit too squishy for the Poliwrath. Poliwrath is by far, in my opinion, the best Pokemon currently in the Ultra League, like by a landslide. Like, this Pokemon is just so insane. There's going to be a video coming up eventually, most likely tomorrow somewhere, with also Poliwrath in there, but most likely a different Pokemon being featured on the thumbnail. But you're gonna see it as well. It's going to be a fun one, but definitely the best Pokemon. Look at this, by the way. The opponent was a little bit too sluggish and swapping out there. They think they tried to go for the grass move does not help them, as we can just go for the one shot, and so this game is over. We just have to hit basically a Hydro Cannon and a Brave Bird maybe, and this game going to be totally fine for me. They're most likely going to be forced to go for their own Brave Bird anyway, which you're going to see here as well, which is going to be totally okay. They're gonna go for that. We can still just reach a Feather Dance. We actually would have reached the moves at the same time, but it doesn't matter, as Feather Dance is already enough to knock them out. Moving on to the next game, let's see what they're going to run. They're going to have here the Giratina in the lead. Of course, they're going to swap out immediately, as Shadow Claw is resistant on both of our Pokemon in the back, and they're going to have a Lantern in the back as well, which is going to be a little bit of a tricky one for us. We can let the move go through, it can still survive a Surf, but we have to go straight for the close combat. But like this, we should be able to get rid of the Lantern here, hopefully, with our Swampert. We just have to hit basically a Hydro Cannon, and so we can let this move go through. It's going to be a Surf, and it doesn't really do that much damage against us. It's still like Ultra League, we are a little bit bulkier than in the Great League, and so this is going to be enough to knock them out. We're going to have some energy stored. We can swap out as well against the Giratina. They go for their own charge move. There's just a Dragon Claw, so we're going to be fine, but we're going to have to see what they're going to have in the back. But they're staying in for a little bit, which is okay for us. We can let this next move go through as well. We kind of want to overfarm a little bit, because the Switch Lock is now crazy unaligned, which is going to be fine for us. So depending on what they're going to have in the back, we're going to be in an okay spot here. But they decide to swap out now into the Toxic Rock. I'm forced to go for another charge move. I'm going to go for another Feather Dance, as I decide to let this move go through as well. Going to be a little bit of a trickier one, but I can even reach another one to get the shield from the opponent here, as they definitely have to do that. They're now 4 times debuffed. I can even still reach another charge move here. It's going to be the Hydro Cannon, and now I have to try to farm them all the way down, basically. I'm forced to still use a shield, even though they're 4 times debuffed, because, yeah, still they're going to do enough damage to most likely knock me out, because I'm Shadow, I'm already very low health, and I have to hope that I would still get to the Earthquake in time, but I'm sadly not going to be able to do so. So this opponent is most likely going to be able to win this game, as this is not going to be enough to knock out the opponent's Giratina, and I have to farm them down, which does not work out, and so they're going to be able to knock me out with a Dragon Claw. Good game to the opponent there. Let's move on to the next game. Let's see what they're going to have here. They're going to have a Greninja, and Greninja is a little bit of a tricky Pokemon for our team to deal with. But again, our trap strikes again, literally. Like, Staraptor is my favorite trap for this kind of team, because Staraptor is still going to be able to go for a close combat, and you saw it already. The opponent goes still for the Breaking Strike, but does not get the debuff, and so the close combat is just going to town. Gonna do so much damage. I can still reach another one, and so the opponent is insanely low. Gave us a shield as well, gives us a ton of farm with our Swampert, and we're looking pretty decent as the opponent goes for their next Breaking Swipe. That's gonna get the debuff, so I'm going to swap out immediately into my Pidgeot against the opponent's Greninja. Good to use a shield onto the Hydro Cannon, as Hydro Cannon does a ton of damage, and they swap out into the Cresselia. Definitely the right call, as I can now go for the Feather Dance against the opponent to debuff the opponent's attack, and so both Moonblast or even a Future Sight shouldn't do that much damage. It's going to be the Future Sight. Not too surprised. I feel like Future Sight is maybe the way to go currently on Cresselia, maybe even over Moonblast, but let's see what they're gonna go for next. It's going to be another Future Sight. I can overfarm by quite a bit, but this game is definitely not over yet. It's going to be a very close one, as we can still reach another Brave Bird in time, and so this should get a knockout against the opponent's Cresselia, and it's just down to Swampert against the Greninja. Who is the better water type starter? We're going to find out shortly. I'm gonna go for the bait, and it does not work out, which is so sad to see, so I have to go for another Hydro Cannon here, and I have to still reach another one in time, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do that. I use a shield here. It's going to be their Hydro Cannon. Can I still reach a move? It's just the Night Slash here. It's going to be very close. It's the Hydro Cannon, so they're going to be able to win this game. Moving on to the next opponent, we're going to have a Steelix in the lead. This is a fairly decent lead for us. It's even not as great as you might think, because just the fast move of the opponent chunks quite a bit. Plus, they're actually maybe running now Psychic Fangs, which is going to give you a guaranteed debuff onto the opponent's defense instead, which is exactly what they're going to do here, so it does even chunk more against me, but I will be able to definitely win this scenario basically in the, I guess in every equal shield scenario there, but I'm just going to let this move go through as well, exactly, and I'm still going to get to another Hydro Cannon, forcing the opponent to either let this Pokemon go down or give me a 2-shield advantage, but they're going to let this move go through, and also we're going to see now the entire team of the opponent. Fly is coming through again from the Staraptor, which is going to do a ton of damage against the normal mug from the opponent. They're going to run Thunder Punch, of course, so I'm going to let this move go through as well, because my win con here is going to be my Pidgeot in the back. I'm just going to use a shield here. That's going to be the hardest hitting move that's going to hit me today, as it's going to be a super effective move from the opponent, and I can just go for the full farm down, and like this, the opponent decides to forfeit this one. Moving on to the next opponent, we're going to have the Dragonite in the lead. This is going to be a very tricky one, but we have to kind of get the opponent a little bit lower here, as we're going to be able to reach our Fly very fast here with our Staraptor. This is looking fairly decent because now we also got them into kind of the range for the Hydro Cannon. I can swap out into my Pidgeot. Pidgeot is going to be the way to go. They are going to go for their own charge move. It's going to be the Dragon Claw very likely, but I'm still going to use a shield here as I swap out into the Swampert. I could go straight for the Brave Bird, and I might go straight for the Brave Bird because they're going to go for the Hydro Cannon here. I can go for 3 extra fast moves, and the Brave Bird it is, and the Brave Bird is coming through and gonna get the instant knockout against the opponent's Pokemon there. They're gonna swap out into the Charizard, and I can still keep my Pidgeot alive in the back. They're gonna go for the Dragon Claw, which was definitely way too fast for like a Hydro Cannon, for the Plasmin for example, but I can just go for my own Hydro Cannon, gonna get them low, not low enough sadly as I still survive with 1 HP, which is kinda crucial for them because now I can still go for 1 charge move, which is going to be able to get them fairly low, but if they didn't get to the 1 charge move there with that Charizard, I would have still been able to go to a move there. I can still try to get to a Feather Dance here with my Pidgeot, but as you can see here, this is going to be a CMP time, and we're going to lose this one, so this was really unfortunate. Just like 1 HP onto the opponent was missing for me to basically win this game. Let's take a look at the next opponent. We're going to encounter here the Swampert against a Charizard. Amazing lead for me. Still kind of tricky in the 2-shield scenario, but they're going to swap out immediately into their double. They're going to go for a Body Slam, going to try to get me a little bit lower, which does make sense, but my backline is also kind of fine against Charizard. My entire team is kind of fine against Charizard, so I don't really worry too much about it. I kind of want to still get out of this matchup with a little bit of energy stored because, of course, we are running an ABB style line, so you kind of need to keep your lead alive just in case it's going to be something in the back that you need your lead for, because if it's gone, it's going to be a little bit tricky for you. Here we're going to still take some charge moves from the opponent. I can go for the Feather Dance, which might have been a little bit of a mistake, but let's take a look at this. It is not going to get the knockout, and they're going to swap out in time. I can still try to go for the Brave Bird here, but I decided to go for the Feather Dance instead, just to get some guaranteed debuff, and this was also a mistake as the opponent is going to be able to go for the full farm down. They're going to be double debuffed here in their attack, but it does not really matter too much. They're going to go for the Blast Run, do a ton of damage, and now it is all coming down to my Staraptor. Can Staraptor win against 3 Pokemon here? I doubt it, but let's take a look at this. We're going to use a shield against the opponent's Charizard to get the full farm against them. And we will see that they're going to go into their Sand Slash. Alolan Sand Slash is coming in here. We have Close Combat for you. First Close Combat, gonna get shielded. Second Close Combat is coming through immediately afterwards. Is going to get the knockout against them. And so this is going to be a good game here. Triple kills the Raptor. What a way to go. Let's see the next opponent coming up. We're going to have the Giratina against us swapping in. This is going to be okay as we're going to have still our Pidgeot in the back. We can just go for the Feather Dance, and afterwards we're going to be in a very decent spot because we can just farm up to basically 100 energy, do a ton of damage against the opponent with our Wing Attack already, and we're going to have now access to the Brave Bird, which should get a knockout after a little bit more fast move pressure from us. Let's see what the opponent is going to do. They're going to overfarm by quite a bit as well, waiting for me to go for the Brave Bird, but this is Brave Bird range, and this is a knockout with a 1 Brave Bird, boom there, and we can see the Reason coming back in, another Brave Bird coming their way. I don't expect that they're going to use a shield here either, and they don't, and Pidgeot is just doing so much damage against most of the opponents currently. It is mad. They're going to go for the Overheat, they're going to have the Guzzlord in their bag, but we have our good friend the Staraptor going for the Fly, trying to get the shield from the opponent, as they're most likely going to try to keep their Guzzlord healthy, as they're going to still survive at least those Hydro Hydro-Cans with this Pokemon, which is not the case with the rest of their team. That's still, they are going to be able to still go for the close combat against the opponent, which is gonna get the shield, and now we're going to have a shield advantage with our Swampert, but I expect that they're going to try to swap out eventually. Going to let the first move go through. If they're going to have Crunch and get the debuff, it is definitely the better play to let the first move go through, but the second one is gonna get shield here. It's going to be the Dragon Claw, and they decide to swap out into the Weezing, forcing me to go for a charge move, but can Swampert still clean up this game? Let's take a look at this one. We can still reach the Earthquake, and with this, we can say goodbye to the Gust Lord, and we can say also goodbye to you. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to leave a like, check out the videos that you see on the screen right now, and I'll see you then. Bye bye.